Hi guys, and welcome to my ranking of all the Alien and Predator films, ranking every single one from the worst to the best. This is my take two of doing this video. I had done this video ranking a couple of weeks ago, and because I'm a muppet, I completely fluffed it up. So if there's anybody who had been watching that video and thought, hang on a minute, why is he not talking about Alien Romulus? Well, I have noticed the obvious mistake here, so here I am, revised, ready to rank all Predator and Alien films from the worst to the best, including Alien Romulus. So without further ado, I have no other defence, by the way. Just all I can say in my defence is that January was a very long month. Okay, so just so without further ado, let's get right straight to it. So we've got 16 films to talk about all together in this ranking, and I gotta say that there's only with this on revisiting these two franchises. This was I enjoyed this revisit of these two franchises much more than I thought I would. I say that just because I kind of always had it in my mind that these films were really quite inconsistent, and I guess you could say that they are, at least from a technical standpoint. But I think there's quite a few films here, although I admit that they're not good films, at least on a technical standpoint, I do still did get some enjoyment out of them. So on this second rewatch of all of these films, there were only about two films that I can honestly say that I dislike. I mean, that may change over time because there'll been times where I had revisited some entries in these franchises for the sake of this review, and the last time I'd seen them prior to that I didn't really like them, and now my opinion shot up. So there are a number of things that could go either way on this one, but yeah, kicking off at number 16 in last place is going to be AVP Requiem, and quite simply, this movie is just kind of unwatchable. This is an argument against maybe not necessarily doing an R-rated AVP film, because I think that there's a potential for that, where you could do that and it could absolutely work. But this just totally misreads everything that you would want from an R-rated AVP film, because it's just sort of, yeah, from a technical standpoint, it's just literally virtually impossible to watch because the lighting is so dark. It's just really nasty as well. I mean, I know you expect that from AVP films, do you know what I mean? And you're not expecting the xenomorphs and predators to greet their victims with Care Bears or anything, but this is really, really unpleasant. And you kind of go, although you're down for all the bloody gnarly action, do you know what I mean? You don't want to see xenomorphs planting eggs down the throat of a pregnant woman whose waters have just broke. You don't need to see chest bursting out of children. All of that, that's really really unpleasant stuff, and it just really sours you to this film. So yeah, that's why it's coming in last place. In number 15, it's going to have to be Alien 3, and I kind of feel bad about putting it this low because there is a part of me that feels like it should be significantly higher on the list. It does at least play about with some nice ideas. It is at least kind of it is at least kind of trying, although David Fincher has gone on record for just disowning this movie because there is an assembly cut of this movie. It's called the assembly cut because he's refused to agree to a director's cut. That's how much he's wanted to distance himself from this film. So it's how he soured over the studio interference of this film, and you can absolutely see that. But yeah, ultimately the thing that the cardinal sin that this movie commits, which is the one that everybody talks about, which is that it just manages to turn the audience against it in the first 5 minutes with a decision to kill off Newton, just undoing the whole triumph of the end of Aliens, just undoing all of that dynamic. It just it just never fully recovers from that. So that's why it's coming in 15th place. So coming up in the 14th place would be The Predator, and this is one of the entries that I referred to before, where when I'd first seen this movie, I don't think I had seen this in the cinema. I think I maybe had seen it when it first came out on streaming. Really wasn't that impressed by it, so I thought that this was going to be a bit of a slog, revisiting it for the sake of this review, and I gotta say I enjoyed it more than I thought it was. Maybe that was just because my expectations were were that low, maybe, but yeah, I did enjoy this for what it was. For just a bit of turn your brain off and kind of go with it. I didn't really care for the final act with the Uber Predator and all of that, and honestly I can't say in good faith that this is a technically well made movie neither, because it's not, but yeah, it's a passable enough film. You can it's a movie you can just turn your brain off, have a few drinks maybe, and you could have a reasonably good time with it. Again, coming in at number 13, again in that same sort of category, we have Alien Resurrection, which is another film which again is not, from a technical standpoint, really not that well made. It's a very beautiful looking film, and the fact that this is maybe like one of the best looking alien films you've seen. There's an underwater sequence here which is just fantastic, which is a sequence that a lot of people kind of remember about this movie. There's a really engaging cast here, but yeah, the whole decision to bring Ripley back from the dead is this kind of a hybrid, and just all of how all of that unfolds. There's some really not good ideas here. From a technical standpoint, it's not well made. It's all of this kind of Joss Whedon script mixing with Jean-Pierre Jeunet, arty direction, and the two just don't gel. It's a movie that feels very at odds with itself, but what can I say? It is a film that I can still at least have some fun with. It is a film I can sort of kick back and still have a bit of fun with, and if I just turn my brain off and go with it. So that's why it's coming in at number 13. Number 12, we're going to have Alien Covenant, the Prometheus sequel. And again, this was a movie where when I first saw it, I really wasn't that taken with it. And each time I've revisited, my opinion of it has gradually gone up a little bit more. So I got to say that this movie, I think it is solid enough. I enjoy it enough. The only thing that really lets it down for me is the fact that with the whole finale, it feels like a little bit of an exercise in futility, and that just is a little bit, the fact that it's sort of the characters don't know David's true nature, but we as an audience do. So once they go back into kind of stasis at the end, he's going to kill him. It's just it feels like a bit of a cop-out. It feels a bit of a cheat to kind of like end it on. It just, so yeah, for that reason, it's coming in at number 13. yeah, there's nothing too like memorable about Alien Covenant for me, but yeah, like I said, every time I've revisited, I've really found a little bit more to enjoy about it each time. So that's why it's coming in at number 12. So coming in at number 11, and this is going to be the real controversial pick, I guess, because I know that there is definitely a cult following for this movie, but we're going to go at number 11 with Predator 2. And this is a movie where look, I will always have now and again the desire to kind of pop this film on just because of how nuanced it is, and for that reason I can understand the cult appeal of it, that this is a movie that really kind of stands out within the franchise. I can really admire that they went and did something different here, that they didn't try and just retread what they had done in Predator. We got Danny Glover here in the lead, who I always love watching. You've got a really cool segment at the end where you basically see a xenomorph's head, and basically it's just this was a really cool moment where it was the first time that these two franchises had merged together in the film, so that was a really cool geeky moment. So yeah, there's always going to be like a little bit of the times now and again where I'm gonna feel like just wanting to pop this on, but ultimately, yeah, when I do, I never quite enjoy it as much as I kind of want to. I think a large part of that is because it does feel, although I can appreciate how they were going for something different with the LA setting and whatnot, I think that it just feels at odds with itself. I don't think the whole cop story really necessarily gels particularly well with the Predator storyline, and it almost just feels like they had just done this sort of standard cop movie that was very stereotypical of that genre at the time, and the studio just didn't have confidence in marketing it, so they just threw in a Predator and thought, can we market it as this Predator sequel and then we might have something. I don't know if that is true, probably not, but that's just kind of the way it feels. It feels a little bit the Predator stuff, it feels a little bit shoehorned in there for me, but yeah, so for it's coming in at number 11. So we're moving to our top 10 now, and kicking off our top 10, I'm going to go for the first Alien versus Predator film. And this is a movie that I just enjoy. As a piece of fan fiction, I guess I do. Yeah, this is just the ultimate movie where you can just turn your brain off and just go with it. And yeah, like I said, it got a lot of criticism at the time for its PG-13 rating, which I can understand to a degree, but then when you really dissect it, as you see that there's not necessarily, and as Dan Trachtenberg has showcased as well with some of his entries, there's no real necessary need to go real kind of hard with it when you're dealing with aliens, because you can always kind of get round that. It's not like human blood, so the censors are a bit more lenient with it, I guess. Well, at least if you take Badlands as an example, I guess it is. So yeah, I've never been invested in the comics or anything like that, so I got no real basis for comparison to say how well this movie captures the spirit of the comics and its source material. But just as a bit of nonsensical fan fiction merging of these two franchises, I enjoy it for what it is, and for that reason it's coming in number 10. So number 9, we're gonna go for the third Predator film, Predators, and I really enjoyed this movie just because and it's a bit of oxymoron, because it's one of the things I really admire about this movie, or one of the things I really like about it, should I say, is one of the things that holds it back as well, I think, because I think one of the things I really liked about this is that it's just a back to basics Predator film, that we're back in the jungle following this group of military, well, and just hunting these predators. The stakes are, as the title would suggest, the stakes are higher because we've got multiple predators in this. So there's a really cool samurai battle sequence in here that I really liked. Really enjoy the action on this. So really solid entry that I always got a lot of enjoyment out of. The only thing that holds it back for me is that it's a little too safe. It doesn't take enough risks, I don't think. I thought, like I said, the aforementioned samurai battle was a really neat idea. But other than that, yeah, it is kind of being very safe. That's the only thing that kind of holds it back for me. Going in at number 8, we have Predator: Killer of Killers. This was Dan Trachtenberg's second Predator film. It is the first and only animated entry in this. And this is just a movie kind of going off what I was, and I guess it leans in nicely into what I was saying about Predators, where you have that scene in Predators with the samurai fight, and we got that little taste of just, you could maybe take that and just use that as a launching pad to go, yeah, let's see these predators do battle with all of these warriors throughout history, and that's essentially what we get with Predator: Killer of Killers. We get this like little anthology series where we are basically seeing the Predator do battle with different warriors throughout history. Like I said, I love the animation of this. I love the idea of it. Everything is just really sublime. The only thing that holds it back for me is the little fourth segment where it all kind of tries to tie all the separate stories together. I don't think it does that in necessarily the most satisfactory way, and also just maybe for me, just purely from it, and this is completely a subjective thing, this is not like a good thing or a bad thing, this is just my personal taste, that anthology films just don't necessarily engage me in the same way that like a linear film would. But again, just a phenomenal achievement of a fantastic piece of art, regardless. And that's my number 8. So coming in at number 7, we have Alien Romulus. And this again is just kind of like a fan's wet dream, really. This movie just delivers so much fan servicey moments. There's so many little fun Easter eggs in here, and a lot of that stuff kind of goes beyond the films as well. We go into the video games, particularly Alien Isolation, we go into the comic books. So I think that for the general fan who's only familiar with the Alien films through the films, I think a lot of the little nods and the winks and the references are subtle enough to kind of it gets away with it. I think there's some really cool ideas here, like with the zero gravity sequence. I thought was really cool. So I just thought that there was so I thought that this was just a really solid film. The only thing that holds it back for me is just maybe towards the final act. I think that some of the references go a little bit too heavy-handed. And they go a little bit too on the nose, and like a whole kind of like where you just where you're just repeating lines from the films. I've never kind of really liked that. And I've never really necessarily liked the whole hybrid idea. So the finale doesn't really land for me. It doesn't really do it for me. But a solid fan servicey installment nonetheless. So coming in at number 6, we have the latest Predator film. We have Predator Badlands, and I just thought that this movie was just so much fun. I thought that it was the most humorous of all of the Predator films. Maybe that's in a bit of a mixed column, because these films generally don't go really so over with the humour, so maybe it feels like a little bit of an oddity in this franchise. But yes, yeah, solid movie. I enjoyed every minute of this, to be fair. I thought that it was really a bold move to maybe take a Predator and use it as more of a protagonist. I thought that was a really bold move, a really innovative move. But I think that it worked really well. I think they pulled it off. And again, just like with his previous installments, I think that Dan Trachtenberg has found a way to just expand on the lore and the world building of the Predators. So yeah, really solid movie. Maybe a little bit of recency bias plays into it, maybe, but what can I say? I really enjoyed it. So Frozen is coming in at number 6, and now we get into the real heavyweights of this. Well, maybe number 5, maybe not so much, because this is another very controversial one. This is going to be another controversial pick, but at number 5, it's going to be Prometheus, and it's because this movie is, when I saw it at the cinema, it just blew me away, and whenever I've revisited, I've always had a really good time with it. I just love some of the ideas are here. I do concede that this does feel, this is a movie that does work better when it's sort of exploring its own ideas and its own world, and maybe it works better on that level than it does on as an Alien prequel, because when it tries to get all the connective tissue and tie it into the whole Aliens lore, it overstretches a little bit for me. That I think is a fair criticism, but it's never been really one that's been such an overstretch, one that's been so glaring that it's really affected my enjoyment of this. I just absolutely love the world building of this film, the visual aesthetic of this film. I love the cast. There's the Michael Fassbender. It always brings it. Yeah, I just think it was a solid entry, and yeah, it's going to be a controversial pick, but maybe it doesn't deserve to be so high on this list. But yeah, there's my list, and yeah, it's coming in at number 5. So coming in at number 4, we have Dan Trachtenberg's first offering in the Predator revival of this franchise with Prey. And yeah, this is just the first time where we really got that little bit of seeing that trend that he's gone with, where we are seeing the Predator do battle with warrior throughout history. We are basically. So you get a lot more of a fresh and innovative take, and on the lore you get a lot more world building here, but at its very core, it's very back to basics again. It is just about the hunt and the kill. So it understands why the original Predator is so special to a lot of people, but it just finds a real fresh and innovative way to kind of like rewrap all of that and just give a really fresh take on this franchise, which I just thought was such a breath of fresh air and one that the franchise really needed. So coming in at number 3 now, I have to go with the original Predator. This is just what can I say about this? This movie is just so typical of that kind of 80s action. I'm a big Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, so it's always got that. I have a little bit of a historical relationship with this movie in the sense where it was kind of I was never really necessarily like to watch this film as a kid, so I always had to kind of do on the side, and it was always just based on the preconception that I had of this. This was always I was doing a lot of creative writing at the time, and whenever I was just doing like a little bit of that or a little bit of fan fiction, and I wanted to write like an action alien story, this is kind of like what I used as a template. This is essentially what I kind of ripped off my preconception of what this movie kind of delivers, because that was just in my childlike brain that this was just this was kind of the epitome of that action sci-fi experience, that story, and yeah, it's just it holds up really well. I think the effects hold up really well, the action really holds up really well, and it's just a classic in its own right. So yeah, that's why we coming in at number 3. So getting into our number 2 now, and there's 2 types of people in this world. There's people who prefer Alien, and there's people who prefer Aliens. And which camp do I fall into? Well, I fall into, with my number 2, it's going to be Aliens. So again, this movie is essentially does what all great sequels should do. It maintains a lot of what people really loved about the original, but it just finds a way to do this fresh take on it, do some more of this like little world building, and just give it its own kind of unique flavor and its own unique style, the dynamics that we have here between Ripley and Newt, and how that's set against the alien queen and protecting the hive. I thought that was a really good juxtaposition, what can I say about this movie that hasn't already been said? It just it's just everything that you want a solid sequel to be. But just for my personal flavor, I do prefer the more dialed down, the more claustrophobic feel. So for that reason, my number 1 is going to be Alien. I just like I said, I love the kind of little claustrophobic feel about this. I think the effects really hold up. I just love how kind of on its surface it's just a very simple story about this small group of people who are stranded in space when they get attacked by these alien species, and they're stranded in space, so they can't escape. Nobody can hear them scream, as the tagline says. But you know, when you really dial it down, you know, there's so much other stuff going on here about the commentary and on gender roles, and you know, the commentary it's taken on corporations. There's all little other stuff that you can break it down as well, and I think that it's so intricate that you can still continue to spot new things each time you revisit it. Yeah, for that reason, it's coming in as my number one. So yeah, thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, don't forget to ring a bell for notifications. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, this list isn't the right list. This is just my personal list. So please feel free to let me know down in the comment section about what your ranking would be. And yeah, until next time, I will see you guys on the next video. You guys take care.